Alright, you and I are kicking off this crazy academy entrance exam, where recruits have to smash massive magical iron pillars. The teacher strolls around and quickly notices that absolutely nobody is making any real progress. Seriously, these pillars are built different, and everyone's swords are just shattering like cheap glass. It is a total joke. Even the tryhards using magic on their blades can't do squad, leaving behind nothing but pathetic little scratches. But hey, we do have a couple of certified sweat lords who actually managed to chip the metal. Still, they look like complete amateurs next to this guy Aster, who taps into his fiery red aura and absolutely obliterates the target. The entire crowd is totally flabbergasted. No one can believe this dude just casually deleted that giant pillar. Even the instructor, who was literally calling them garbage a second ago, is left with his jaw on the floor. So who is this guy? Ash was an orphan kid who spent his whole life believing he was completely useless. When he was just a tiny baby, his mother sadly froze to death during a brutal, snowy night. Luckily, the leader of the Elmheims saved him from that crazy blizzard. They're basically the strongest warrior family on the continent. They swore their swords to the royals as legendary protectors, and sitting at the very top is Roderick Elmheim. After snatching the poor kid from the brink of death, Roderick took him in and became his new dad. But growing up with the noble Elmheim family, Ash was constantly bullied and looked down on for having no wings. See, in this world, wings represent your magical mojo. The more wings tattooed on your back, the more overpowered you are. Since Ash didn't have a single drop of magic inside him, they called him the wingless loser. But he didn't let that trash hand of cards ruin his spirit. He kept grinding every single day, believing hard work pays off. Now pay attention here, because things are about to get really dark. He spent his whole life listening to his dad's advice and doing everything right, only to get totally stabbed in the back. His father and his brothers literally teamed up to ambush him. The poor kid tried to throw hands, but without magic, he was no match for his snake of a father and trash brothers. They pinned him down and stabbed him through the chest. Before his soul faded away, he used his final breath to ask his father a simple question. Why raise him just to slaughter him? Well, turns out his dad never cared about him in the first place. The greedy old man just wanted to steal the 7 legendary wings that Ash was actually born with. Now that he got what he wanted, it was time to throw this wingless trash away. Ash demanded some real answers. But his cruel brothers just kept stabbing him, while his garbage father calmly walked away to leave him for dead. As the lights went out, he felt a freezing chill, but suddenly opened his eyes to find himself alive. Can you believe this? Our boy actually regressed right back into his infant body, freezing in the middle of a blizzard. Sadly, his mother had already passed away in the snow, leaving the poor baby all alone. Just then, he hears a squad of knights hunting for his mother under Roderick's orders. Their mission? To capture the newborn baby boy. This setup sounds way too familiar to Ash, who remembers being told he was rescued on a freezing night. This makes him realize he has literally traveled back in time to his childhood. Knowing he is in deep trouble, the tiny baby starts crawling for his life, using his magical aura to keep warm. Hauling a baby body is ridiculously hard, but his absolute refusal to die keeps him pushing through the snow. The sheer dread of falling into Roderick's hands gives him the strength to crawl until he finally passes out from exhaustion. Thankfully, a noble and his daughter find him instead of his evil dad. This is Viscount Hyreed. The classy nobleman kneels down and scoops the baby into his warm coat. He wonders how on earth a baby got abandoned here, but what he sees next completely breaks his brain. The long trail in the snow reveals that this infant literally dragged himself over a whole mountain to survive. This crazy sight leaves the man baffled about the kid's identity. Suddenly, Ash snaps awake after being poked by a kid. Turns out, a whole gang of children are crowding around him, just waiting for our boy to wake up. Now that his eyes are open, the kids grab him, fighting over who gets to play with him first. They are completely smothering him, so my guy has had enough and leaps right out of their hands, leaving them super confused. In the panic, Ash accidentally activates his crazy inborn magic power. And that is how our little hero survives to fight another day, my friends. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the moment our boy finally sees this guy's face and completely loses his mind. Turns out, this guy is Duke Roderick's big bro, Count Hifrid, and man, the poor dude is totally devastated. He literally dragged himself through a whole blizzard just to crash into another Elmheim house. Let me give you some quick backstory on Hifrid. This man rules over the Viscount house, a side branch of the Elmheim family. Back in the day, Hifrid and his little brother Roderick were the twin wings chosen to guard the royal family. But Viscount Hifrid supposedly died fighting in a civil war, which totally dragged his entire family house down to ruin. Seeing this dude breathing basically confirms Ash's wild theory that he actually got sent back in time. Though landing right in his worst enemy's brother's house was definitely not on his bingo card. The lady of the house grabs this weird kid who literally rocketed into the sky with magic. She already had a feeling he wasn't normal, and this basically proves it. Even the Viscount can tell this baby has insane raw power, and those wings marked on his back are absolute proof. Like the kid literally has 7 wings on his back. When little Ash finally realizes the boy everyone thought was wingless actually has 7 massive wings, he is completely stunned. Everything suddenly clicks. He finally gets what Roderick meant. In his past life, that trash human only saved him to steal the 7 wings that belonged to our boy the whole time. Just thinking about how Roderick laughed at him for being wingless makes him want to punch a wall. Right then, the lady asks the Viscount a serious question, wondering what he actually plans to do with the kid. Don't blink here, the Viscount's cold silence makes our boy fear the absolute worst. He already got his wings stolen once, and he refuses to let history repeat itself, but contrary to his worst fears. The Viscount actually has a super sweet reaction and decides he wants to adopt the baby as his own son. Reaching out, the man gently pats his newly adopted kid to show some genuine love. He looks at this kid as a fragile little fledgling who does not know the world yet, a bird that still needs to learn how to fly. So, until the day this kid can spread his wings and soar, he is taking full responsibility for raising him up. Ash's eyes instantly light up hearing this, because he can tell the man is being completely real with him. Just then, the other kids burst into the room while looking for him, and the oldest sibling talks about how worried they all were. One little girl runs up to her mom, asking what the new baby's name is. The mom literally lifts the baby up like Rafiki holding Simba and names him Aster. It is a name that symbolizes a bright new star born into their family. And boom, just like that, 10 years flash by. Lord Hifrid makes a grand entrance right outside Duke Roderick's giant mansion. Walking right behind him is our main character Aster and his sister, Ulfen. Yep, the same cute little girl from back in the day. Only now, she is grown up and looks like an absolute model straight out of a magazine. You and I should probably look into why the Viscount and his kids are actually gathering at this place. This sword dance festival is a yearly event hosted by the Duke under the Elmheim name. Basically, it's a massive party for noble warrior families. It's the ultimate spot for everyone to network, make connections, and show off a bit. But it's also a tense rivalry, where every house flexes their best young swordsman to represent the family name. As Viscount Hifrid and his kids walk through the crowd, it becomes super obvious that these snobby nobles do not want them here. Everyone is whispering and talking trash right behind their backs. They are totally convinced the Viscount is going to get humiliated just like every other year. Plus, they find it hilarious that he adopted some random kid with zero background. Literally, everyone hates on them for one simple reason. They see the Viscount family as a dirty stain on the proud Elmheim name. And since this is Aster's very first time attending, he has absolutely no clue how things work here. So his sister quickly warns him to keep his guard up and never show even a hint of weakness. Because if you look weak for even a second, you're getting eaten alive by this crowd. Seeing his sister's hands shaking makes Aster realize their family's reputation is on life support. But hey, that's exactly why the Viscount brought him along. He wanted the kid to see firsthand just how low their branch family has fallen under the Elmheim shadow. Realizing this, he asks his adopted son if he's totally bummed out by how weak they are now. But our boy is actually super hyped about the crazy situation they are walking into. He is no masochist, but Aster is absolutely loving the freezing cold shoulder everyone is giving them. His hype genuinely amuses the Viscount, who is just glad the kid is so positive. And hey, you and I know that in his past life, he was always called the ultimate disgrace anyway. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where returning home brings back zero happy memories, because honestly, there are none. But Aster is totally ready to make some crazy new memories. Memories that will absolutely trash his enemies, but keep him entertained. After all, he is no longer that weak little runt. With his 7 wings, he is about to completely obliterate Roderick's annoying brats. This is his moment to make the epic, legendary debut he always deserved. Cut to the arena, where we see 2 fighters already throwing absolute hands. In a world where everyone wants to be a knight, you have to fight dirty to reach the very top. To make it, a knight needs both power and style. You get strong by mastering the blade, but style and prestige, that only comes when you are famous. If you have both, you get the ultimate family symbol, the legendary wing crest. And as our winner grabs that title today, the entire crowd goes absolutely wild. The sheer energy in this massive stadium is honestly terrifying. And it always manages to stress Ulfen out. Since her other sisters, Fr and Freya, already know how brutal this place is, they refuse to even show up. In this arena, the winner has to completely humiliate the loser just to flex their ultimate dominance. Now pay attention here. Looking at that loser reminds our main character of when he was a total laughingstock. Suddenly, his sister cuts in, snapping him right back to reality. She probably thinks he is shaking in his boots, which makes sense since this is his first major sword dance event. But she is completely reading the room wrong. He is not scared at all, and when he says it with total confidence, she is just left blinking in confusion. Just then, the Viscount announces he has to bounce for a bit because a super important meeting just came up. Before he leaves, he tells our boy that keeping Ulfen safe is entirely on him. She is super offended by this. After all, she is a whole year older than him. Then, the dad decides to drop a classic loading screen tip for his son, too. Since there are tons of kids his age, he tells him to go make some new friends. But he quietly adds a warning: keep the secret of those 7 wings completely hidden. With that, the dad heads out, leaving the siblings surrounded by a crowd staring at them like a pack of hungry wolves. They are getting hit with the ultimate side-eye, like they are just a couple of annoying party crashers who do not belong. I know what you are thinking. With this hostile vibe, making friends is going to be basically impossible, right? But then he spots someone in the crowd and immediately walks off, leaving Ulfen completely lost in the dust. He acts like he is trying to make buddies, but that is a total lie. The targets are sitting high and mighty. They are the main family's golden boys, his actual brothers from his past life. Our boy politely greets Darius, introducing himself by his full name and claiming he just wanted to say a quick hello. Grian, the second brother, chimes in to explain that this is just the adopted kid from the Viscount's branch. Hearing that is enough to set Darius off, and he immediately mocks Aster for having the absolute nerve to call himself an Elmheim. These 2 jerks are the exact same monsters who literally killed him in his past life. Back then, they were terrifying to face. But looking at them now, Aster thinks they are just a couple of goofy kids trying way too hard to act Sigma. Suddenly, Ulfen steps in to drag her brother away, thinking Aster has done more than enough by just saying hello. As they walk away, Darius calls after her, mocking her for not hiding behind her daddy's back today. Using the main house's authority, Darius demands she come sit with them and entertain the Elmheim heirs. But Ulfen is no pushover, and flat out refuses, reminding him that their families are definitely not master and servant. She drags our boy away, but Aster is hesitating and does not want to leave yet. Luckily, Darius makes things a whole lot easier for them. This absolute jerk gets all worked up and starts screaming insults about the Viscount, who failed to protect the king despite being a knight. And as a result, Roderick literally cut his own brother's arm off, turning him into the family disgrace. Ulfen is holding in her rage while listening to Darius. But this guy drops another massive insult, saying he feels bad that she shares his loser uncle's blood. The rage bait works like a charm, and Ulfen marches right up to confront the mocking brat. She tries to defend her father's honor, but her brave moment is completely ruined when he spits grape juice right in her face. Darius reminds Ulfen that useless girls like her can never inherit the title, so her dad must be incredibly disappointed. And trust me, you and I are about to watch her completely crash out. Stick around to find out what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to see that Aster is actually grateful his awful brothers are still total trash. Now he does not have to hold back. It is just a perfect reminder of exactly why he wanted revenge in the first place. Aster casually enters the chat, grabs a bottle, and tosses it way up high right next to his sister. The noble instantly snatches the bottle, completely clueless that he just fell for the ultimate distraction. In a flash, our boy draws his sword so fast he slices the bottle, splashing juice right onto Darius's face, catching the arrogant jerk completely off guard, leaving him looking absolutely ridiculous while Aster cleans his blade and takes a little taste of the liquid. He realizes it is actually just grape juice, not even real wine, which is honestly perfect for trust fund baby nobles trying to act tough. Flashback to 3 years ago, Aster's wild power was leaking while his father, the Viscount, tried desperately to restrain him. The boy's massive rage had already hurt Ulfen, and his other sisters were in serious danger. He kept unleashing the insane power of the Seven Wings, turning into an unstoppable beast. Aster's overflowing energy was so destructive that even the Viscount doubted he could actually contain him. The boy was completely lost to his berserk state. Back to the present, Viscount Hyried gets a sudden visitor. Now pay attention, because a servant crashes their high-stakes meeting to announce an explosive duel between the Elmheim brothers. The news completely shocks Hyried, while Rodri just stands there posing with pure edgelord Sasuke vibes before Ulfen bursts in to explain the chaos. The other council members turn to watch the intense duel happening between the Elmheim brothers. A showdown like this is super rare, so everyone is hyped to watch it. After all, this winner basically decides the fate of the entire sword dance event. On one side is Darius, the arrogant punk who thinks he is hot stuff just because of his family status. He even trash talks our boy, calling him a worthless stray they took pity on. Flaunting his status, Darius flexes his four-wing crest, showing the crowd the overwhelming power of the Duke's own son. Darius smugly dares Aster to show off his own crest, hoping to completely embarrass him for having a weaker power level. Our boy tells this clown that showing off is honestly embarrassing, and he would never sink to that level. Aster's chill attitude makes Darius absolutely furious, but our boy is far from done with him. He lays down a wager. If Aster wins, Darius has to apologize to Ulfen on his knees. If Darius wins, Aster has to be his literal dog forever. With the stakes set, this aggressive clown lunges forward swinging dual blades. Aster easily blocks the first strike, though the heavy force still pushes him back. Seeing his own blade shake proves that Darius actually has some serious muscle behind his swings. But let's pause for a second. That red-headed jerk is still hyping himself up as they clash. Ulfen is worried sick, but honestly, Darius's actual sword skills are pretty sloppy. Even with basic skills, the real issue is that this punk has a massive pool of magic. That is what separates crest bearers from normal fighters. One wing is basically like the small spark of a candle. Four wings, on the other hand, is a whole different beast. Darius is totally confident in his spam attacks, because he is packing the power of a literal explosion. Pushing hard, Darius mocks Aster for staying silent, asking where all that big energy went. Meanwhile, our boy just chill defends, pushing Darius to go totally desperate with a massive dual-blade heavy strike. The crowd is convinced this next strike is going to end the entire fight. But Aster's blade slips right in, perfectly blocking both weapons. The look on Darius's face is pure gold. He is completely baffled that his attack failed. Aster, our absolute king, tells him to shut his mouth and sends his sorry self flying back. Our boy channels a massive wave of magic into his sword, thinking of his decade-long grind to control this insane power. He spent every single second leveling up his skills just to get sweet payback against his trash brothers. Going on the attack, our boy brings his sword down hard on Darius, who barely blocks it. The brutal impact drops him right to his knees, leaving Grigon shocked that his brother is losing. Right now, Aster looks like a literal demon with terrifying magical energy. While Darius tries to keep up his garbage trash talk, Aster just stares him down with cold, emotionless eyes. Aster charges his blade with power, and trust me, you and I are about to see if he crushes him. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the chaos, as those golden sparks suddenly turn pitch black. Our boy looks completely shook, and honestly, even Hyrid can tell this was definitely not part of the plan. Darius is clinging for life, but the flashback of this clown ripping off Aster's arm in his past life gives our boy all the fuel he needs. Aster unleashes so much raw heat that his opponent starts straight up begging him to stop. Hyrid is screaming at him to chill, but Aster keeps bulldozing Darius straight into the dirt. Finally, the arrogant redhead's swords completely shatter, bringing this crazy showdown to a massive upset. Darius is on the floor after literally wetting himself with a total shock face, while Aster feeds him his own trash talk about wearing better clothes. The match wraps up with Aster realizing he is no longer that weak, wingless kid from his past. And honestly, that is more than enough to clear his head. But then, a cold wave of pure terror hits him as Rodri's insane aura flares up right behind his back. Aster turns around and sees Rodri looking absolutely ready to murder someone, clearly hating how this fight ended. Meanwhile, the crowd is going absolutely wild because the adopted kid from the Branch family just totally wrecked the main family's third son. But with his pride totally crushed like that. Now pay attention, because Rodri is not about to stay quiet. Our boy literally steps right up to him while Darius smirks, thinking Daddy is going to save him. Aster locks eyes with the massive Duke, who rules over the entire Elmheim family. The Duke glares down with sheer fury, but our boy refuses to look away. He is totally ready to destroy this Duke himself. Right then, Darius crawls over to his dad, grabbing his clothes and begging him to slaughter the trash who dared insult their family's name. Rodri looks down at his son with pure disgust, and before Darius can even finish talking, he drives a blade straight through his hand. The crowd is completely horrified, realizing this madman might actually execute his own kid. Talk about absolutely zero mercy. He calls out Darius for smiling like a clown after dragging their entire reputation through the mud. Hyrid begs his brother to chill out, but this guy is absolutely insane and raises his sword to finish his son off. You won't believe what happens next. The blade never hits because our absolute unit of a main character steps right in. Our boy points out that Darius still hasn't apologized to his sister as part of their wager. So, he tells his uncle to hold off on the execution until those terms are met. The Duke glares down, calling him a mere orphan picked up by Hyfried, who thinks he actually belongs to the noble family. Aster fires back, claiming he is proudly a Viscount's son. And even without blood ties, his father taught him about a knight's pride and the heavy burden of their household. Hearing this, Rodri looks back at Hifrid, then drops an even more savage and ruthless argument. He claims it's Aster's fault for disrespecting the main family by showing off his own pride in public. Even for a kid's fight, this is way too much disrespect for the main house to overlook. Rodri mocks Hyride for sacrificing an arm in the past, wondering what price the boy is ready to pay now. Aster is in major trouble and needs to talk his way out fast. He stands his ground, calling this an official duel instead of a petty fight. He wielded a blade to match Darius' weapon and answer the insults thrown at the Viscount house, declaring that anyone who cannot back up his own words has absolutely no business holding a weapon at all. Since those were the Duke's own rules, Aster refuses to give up even a single finger. The kid has serious balls, and literally no one can believe he is only 10 years old. Rodri's pressure fades as he sheathes his blade, buying the kid's logic. But then he suddenly orders Aster to draw. Our boy panics and reaches for his hilt, but the Duke's blade is already coming down. This psychopath literally pulls a fake-out on a kid, blasting Aster straight through a brick wall. Ulfen watches in absolute horror, while Aster's dad screams at his brother's incredibly brutal move. The Viscount leaps straight into the arena to challenge his brother, but the Duke blocks him without even looking. Hifrid rushes over in a panic to check on Aster, only to find a completely shattered sword. And trust me, you and I are going to get chills seeing this kid standing tall, completely bruised but unbroken. He tanked that devastating blow with pure grit, and his eyes still show zero fear. All right, you and I are jumping right back into the action. Rodri walks off, but that massive attack has a nasty recoil, sending Aster face planting. His dad catches him, just in time before he totally passes out. Our boy proudly whispers that he kept his promise and protected everyone. Hyride is absolutely bursting with pride, seeing his son as a true legend. Meanwhile, the Duke gets roasted by his allies for acting like a whiny, hot-headed toddler. But hey, doing nothing would have completely trashed their reputation. So, hitting the kid was their version of a damage control compromise. Honestly, this is a legendary debut for Aster, proving to everyone that he can talk trash to the family patriarch and walk away after tanking a direct hit. But this drama almost caused a permanent split between the branch houses. And honestly, Rodri is hoping that separation happens sooner rather than later. A massive storm is brewing to tear their world apart, but for now, Hyride's family gets to enjoy a little peace. Next up, we see Aster absolutely wiping the floor with his opponent, whose fanboys are swooning over how epic he is. Remember, the kid is only 10 years old. And since coming back from the sword dance gathering, he's been training like a madman. Plus, rumors of him humiliating the Duke's third son are spreading like wildfire. For ages, the main house treated the Viscount family like complete garbage. But get this, things are finally shifting. Our boy is leveling up his skills from that intense tournament. He flexed his power and proved his worth. That is definitely enough to shut up the haters who called the Viscount house a disgrace. But remember, that was just a side quest. Aster's main goal is still dealing with the Elmheims. He is super hyped to see just how ridiculously overpowered he can get. Even if he wanted to unleash his raw, chaotic energy at the gathering, he knew it would not beat Duke Roderick. Those wing crests show off your magic pool and basically rank your overall power. But if you cannot even control that magic, it does not matter how many wings you have. That is Aster's biggest issue, since he cannot handle the true power of his 7 wings. He can't even train properly, because the moment he tries tapping into that 7-wing energy, he completely loses control. Anyway, Aster crushes another challenger and looks around for more smoke. But honestly, bro beat everyone to a pulp, so there is nobody left to fight. Ulfen finds her stubborn brother, pushing himself past his limits once again. She is actually here to tell him the Viscount is calling, sending Aster running. But wait, look closely at her outfit. She is wearing a totally different uniform, and Aster can't help but stare as she calls him out. She used to refuse to wear this uniform because she thought it was ugly. But now, Ulfen realizes she needs to step up and grow just like her brother. She points her sword right at his face, demanding a sparring match the next time he is back. Our boy just gives a sarcastic smirk, hoping she doesn't accidentally end him. Next, Aster knocks on the Viscount's door to see what the old man wants. Hyrid has been waiting for him and tells him to sit down, showing this is some serious business. As our boy sits, Hyrid reflects on how 10 whole years have passed since they brought him into the family. Placing a small box on the table, he admits he wanted to wait until Aster was older. But now is the perfect moment. That shiny crimson ring on the table is no ordinary jewelry. It is a family heirloom marking him as the next successor. Hyrid straight up tells him he wants Aster to inherit the Viscount house. This totally blindsides the kid, and Hyrid admits that holding on to this title is incredibly risky. The harsh reality is that another greedy branch family still carries the Elmheim name, meaning they have serious duties to uphold and lands they absolutely must protect. Leaving the successor spot empty is way too dangerous, which is why Hyrid is pulling the trigger early. But Aster's biggest concern is his sisters, especially since he is not even related to them by blood. The Viscount assures him that his sisters will return from school in 3 days, and he will break the news then. The older sisters have been gone for a bit, but Aster knows they are both going to lose their minds. Kyudo is going to be absolutely furious. Mostly because she resents him for being a guy blessed with the 7 wings. Long story short, she is a massive hater. He rejects the title. Honestly, you and I both know his chaotic power is a ticking time bomb. Alright, let's dive into this wild story with a 10-year-old who actually admits he is just an immature brat, whose crazy powers got his sister in deep trouble. Aster has absolutely zero hope of winning over his other sisters, and his brutally honest answer actually makes the Viscount crack a smile. Just as he leaves, Hyrid admits he could never see Aster as just a regular kid, even back then. So, he hands him this ring as a reward for his epic sword dance performance. But since our boy is turning down the family heirloom, his dad has a much better option lined up. Our boy's eyes go wide in absolute shock when he sees the gorgeous magic sword, Graham. This beast can tame the 7 wings power and literally swallows magic whole. Next thing we know, they head straight into the woods to test out what this legendary blade can actually do. Aster is like, why did we walk all the way out here when the training hall would have worked just fine? Well, turns out his precious son is a total hazard who constantly breaks stuff during practice. The Viscount explains that this magic sword is a legendary weapon passed down to the oldest sons of the Elmheim house. Because of this family tradition, Hyfrid inherited the blade, and he literally hauled it all the way from the main house just for his son. The Viscount rips off the sword wraps. But get this, the blade is completely busted. Aster is totally shocked because this legendary weapon looks broken and completely useless for a fight. But wait, the moment his dad channels his magic, the broken blade pulses with blazing red energy, forming a sword of pure magical power. That is why they call this weapon the Blade of Potential. Watch closely, its power only depends on the wielder. Hyfrid then fires a massive blast, vaporizing a path and utterly destroying the forest. While the weapon is crazy strong, the massive catch is that it completely drains the user's mana. This legendary sword is basically cursed, meaning every single swing comes with a heavy price. Hyfrid asks if his boy wants to take it for a spin. Naturally, Aster grabs the sword to give it a shot. He starts pumping his own magic into the blade, whipping up a wild mix of gold and dark energy. But the sword starts aggressively ripping the mana right out of his body. The result? Aster unleashes an energy explosion so massive it looks like a meteor crashing down. Back at the training ground, the students are totally baffled until they notice something weird. The blast did not crash down, it actually shot straight up. While they argue, Ulfen instantly senses her brother is behind this. Meanwhile, our main character is seriously impressed by Graham's ridiculous firepower. Even Hifrid is left completely speechless because the kid's blast literally ripped the clouds apart. Let that sink in for a second. Not a single soul in the family has ever wielded this legendary power. If Aster can master this, he will become so insanely strong that he will leave masters like Hifrid in the dust. The mere thought of surpassing the family head is enough to get Aster hyped, but his dad quickly drops a serious warning on him. If the world ever finds out he possesses this limitless power, people will scheme to manipulate him, while others will seize any chance to put him 6 feet under. Reaching out his hand, Hifrid tells his son that he needs to train like crazy until he is truly unstoppable. The boy clasps his hand, vowing that he refuses to live a miserable life ever again. Grateful to his dad, he promises to master this power, no matter what. 3 days fly by, and the sisters who left for night school are finally welcomed back home. Kyudo and Marfa are back, and the eldest sister immediately opens her arms wide to hug the little ones. But they totally dodge her and run straight to Marfa, leaving Kyudo hanging like she is completely invisible. Man, she got absolutely roasted. Turns out the little sisters hate her because she always teases them and ruins their hair. Kyudo tries to play it cool, acting like it is no big deal since she has mastered proper etiquette. She locks eyes with Ulfen before sprinting over to force a hug on her. Ulfen has no idea how she got dragged into this drama, while Marfa looks around, wondering where Aster is. Just hearing his name totally ruins Kyudo's vibe, since she couldn't care less about him. Meanwhile, our boy is being an absolute menace right now, unleashing massive bursts of raw magic. Controlling this weapon is proving to be a nightmare. He can hold it, but keeping its massive power under control is way too hard. Somehow, the Viscount made it look so easy when he controlled his own output. Seeing him train so intensely, Kyudo calls out to her little brother, completely catching him off guard. And that's where we leave it with a classic lecture. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right back in, as Kyudo totally roasts Aster's ego and family status. She even caught wind of that crazy sword-gathering drama. Literally everyone at the Night Academy is yapping about Aster's wild performance. Our boy stays cool, though, reminding her that she's the one who is actually special. Even as a rookie, she survived crazy high-stakes missions and was the only knight in her entire class to score the Medal of Honor. But to Kyudo, that's just the bare minimum if she wants to inherit the Viscount title. Then she drops a bomb. She knows Aster turned down the air spot, and she knows he did it for her. Aster is low-key mad his dad couldn't keep a secret, claiming he only walked away because he felt totally unqualified and not good enough. But then, Kyudo steps up to a tree, complaining about how her dad and brother both knew her lifelong dream and still chose violence. Aster watches in absolute shock as she literally chops down the tree and hurls it straight at him. Luckily, he barely dodges. Now pay attention here, because his sister is totally out for blood, launching a full-on combat test just to see what he's made of. And this time, she is not holding back even a single bit. Aster tries to de-escalate, warning her that his own weapon is still totally unfinished. But she shuts him down, saying real enemies on the battlefield don't care about excuses. Aster is shocked she's calling herself an enemy, but she replies that a true knight is always ready to rumble. Squaring up, she warns him to fight for real unless he wants to get flattened into the dirt. Kyudo charges with insane speed to wreck her brother, leaving Aster struggling to defend himself. He still can't control his magic, so he has to fire up his magic sword. It's the only real hope he has of surviving Kyudo's absolute rage. This epic sibling showdown is finally on. Big Sis plays dirty right away, but still hypes him up for keeping his sword skills sharp. She is getting super hyped, wanting to see if he can handle the high-level sword training from her academy. Even while totally dominating, she's actually disappointed that his blade control is so weak. Kyudo roasts his messy magic before sending him flying. Yeah, Aster is sweating bullets right now. She is going completely hardcore on him, but honestly, that is just classic Kyudo, even when they were kids. You and I can probably guess why, since he is the only boy with the right of family succession. Or maybe it's because he has that insane wing crest that blows everyone else out of the water. She always pushed his limits, complaining about how unfair life is. Basically, she is the perfect candidate to be his natural-born rival. And right now, she is speed blitzing him, teleporting straight to his face with a massive slash, screaming that he is completely unfit to run this entire family. Meanwhile, the other siblings are watching, super worried that this fight is going to end with someone in a casket. But their dad knows this brawl is the only way to settle their differences. Sure, it is wild, but hopefully it won't ruin either of them. At least, that's what their sister is praying for. Still, she wonders why they got dragged back from the academy so fast, since Aster never even wanted the succession talk. Haift nods, pulling a letter from a box. It is a straight-up summons from the main Elmheim house. Basically, the big bosses of the family want to see their grandson. This is a massive, unexpected turn of events. Haift is mainly terrified they are going to lose Aster to those power-hungry sharks. Cut back to the battlefield, where Kyudo is bringing absolute heat on the offensive. Aster yells that he already said no to taking over the family. Their dad knows it, but she keeps hammering him anyway, shouting that even their father hates his decision. Every single blow feels heavy as earth, like a giant troll swinging a massive hammer and completely crushing him with force. To survive, our boy grips his sword tight and somehow parries her strike to the side, getting a quick opening, but Kyudo just laughs at his escape attempt, blasting a crazy wave of energy that blows him far back, slapping him so hard that he actually coughs up blood just from the massive impact. And we leave things right as Kyudo calls him a pathetic, third-rate fighter for just swinging blindly. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where managing magic alone makes you average. To be top tier, you have to blend swordplay and spellcasting seamlessly. Up to this point, Kyudo is honestly unimpressed, since she barely broke a sweat fighting her little brother. You see, wing crests basically determine how much magical juice a warrior can channel and unleash. Even a single wing difference triples your overall combat power. So it is like some crazy power scaling math. Since she only has 5 wings, her magical output should be way weaker than his 7-wing level. With that massive gap in power, her brother is running away like a total coward, refusing to even use his swordsmanship to gain any kind of upper hand. Kyudo smirks, teasing him for being scared of his own skills. She asks if he is still afraid of losing control and causing a disaster like 3 years ago. Those words hit our main character like an absolute truck. Deep down, he realizes he has been holding back his own power because he is utterly terrified of hurting anyone ever again. Staring at his blade, he wonders if suppressing his magic is the exact reason his swordplay has been feeling so off lately. Kyudo is getting ticked off. Her brother has literally everything she has ever dreamed of. Yet he is acting all casual, completely clueless about how lucky he actually is. So she charges in to take everything, and trust me, you can feel the hype as she forces him to finally lock in. But this absolute beast swings his blade with perfect precision, parrying her heaviest strike with just one clean motion. He actually thanks his sister for the wake-up call, finally remembering what he is truly capable of. And get this, he leaps right into her face without even summoning his magical blade, totally catching her off guard. She knows he still has plenty of mana left, but the dude is going full psycho mode right now. She braces to block his strike while he readies the limitless power sealed in his crest. Our boy knows he cannot fully control this wild power yet. But for one split second, he just lets all of his magic explode outward, completely abandoning his manifested blade attack. Somehow she blocks the hit, actually giving him some props for coming up with something so creative. Our main character admits he has zero intention of wasting another life. Especially this incredible second chance he was lucky enough to get. Think about it, he won't lose his new strength, his sword, or his family, since these are things he could never protect in his past life. And yes, unlike most Isekai main characters, this dude literally yelled all of that out loud. Hearing Second Life totally confuses Kyudo, but her brother is already charging ahead at full speed, launching another strike. Only this time, he vanishes right from her sight, dropping low to create an opening because he is done holding back. With her guard down, he delivers a full power slash that looks terrifyingly close to slicing her clean in two. When Kyudo finally opens her eyes again, she has absolutely no clue where she is. Suddenly, she spots her sister Manhwa standing nearby, casually telling her that she has been completely out cold for quite a while. Realizing she got totally wrecked, Kyudo yells, demanding to know what happened to her duel with Aster. Manhwa calmly explains that her brother carried her back after knocking her out. He told everyone she simply fell asleep mid-fight. Instead of bragging, Aster made it sound like she was just totally exhausted from all her intense training. Which is a lame excuse that literally no knight in training is going to believe. After all, she vividly remembers that exact second she left herself completely wide open. Right before her brother slashed her down, but she knows he must have dissolved his mana blade right before it hit her, ensuring she only felt a tiny shockwave of energy instead of getting sliced by a fully charged magical weapon. I mean, it is pretty obvious that Aster is not the type of guy to ever hurt his own family. But the absolute beast she saw in his eyes in that moment made her genuinely wonder if he was about to obliterate her off the face of the earth. Even though he is way younger. She can tell Aster has a wild, fiery spirit, which actually makes her smirk. Grabbing her weapon, she asks Manhwa where their little bro ran off to. Refusing to let their epic fight end, with her losing, fully planning to go all out right from the start next time. Manhwa hits her sister with some unexpected news, telling her that the kid has already departed. This completely stuns Kyudo, who did not expect him to leave so soon. And that's where we leave it for now. He had to head out with their dad after getting summoned by the main Elmheim family. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the drama, as Manhwa is shocked to find out Kyudo had zero clue about what was happening, leaving her completely blindsided and absolutely fuming. Next up, we find our main guy riding in a travel carriage, sitting directly across from his own father. Hifrid makes it clear they are on their way to meet the elders backing the Elmheim family. These guys used to run the main and branch families back then. But even in retirement, they still pull some serious strings behind the scenes. Known as the creepy shadow rulers, Hifrid mentions they never cared about our boy since he got adopted. Which makes it super weird that they are suddenly demanding a random meeting out of nowhere. Aster thinks it is because of his sword dance victory, since these old heads do not care about money or survival, only the absolute glory of the Elmheim name. Basically, anyone who messes up the family honor gets thrown straight into a cage of wild beasts to be completely ripped apart. Hifrid gets genuinely worried and asks the kid how he even knows all these dark secrets. Aster just plays it cool, claiming he picked up the rumor somewhere. But in his head, he is already prepared to face some kind of harsh punishment. His dad is shocked and kind of annoyed that the boy did not even say a proper goodbye to his family, but Aster just brushes it off. Now watch closely, he just wanted to leave fast, figuring Kyudo would be glad to have him out of her hair. Plus, Aster admits his fight with his sister actually helped him gain some serious control over his sword, Graham, allowing him to tap into way more energy from that 7 wings crest than ever before. So, if things go sideways during this meeting, our boy wants his dad to stay out of it entirely, insisting he will be fine. But before Hifrid can reply, they hear someone screaming outside the carriage, yelling at the kid to stop being so cocky. His eyes pop out of his head when he sees Kyudo pressed right against the glass. This crazy sister actually chased him down all the way out here. She busts straight inside, super mad that he dared to leave without saying a single word to her. Though you and I know, she already heard about his summoning from the elders. Hifrid calls Kyudo by her full name, sounding pretty annoyed as he reminds her she cannot tag along to the main estate. She does not care though, since she knows her place. Still, Kyudo worries this whole setup is way more dangerous than Aster is making it out to be. Even Sister Malfa knows how bad this is. People are terrified he will never walk out of there alive, but our boy just laughs it off, acting like it is no big deal. Though deep down, he is secretly worried about getting jumped by these old heads, too. Kyudo starts grilling Aster, venting about why she can't stand him, starting with the fact that he is the only boy around. Then he has those 7 wings, and he always gets all the special treatment. She can easily see he is way stronger than her, despite being younger and having less experience. Plus, the kid acts so grown up for his age. But even though she has plenty of reasons to hate him, Kyudo cannot forget they are still family. And even if he became the most powerful warrior alive, she would still worry about her little brother. That is why she needs him to come back safe. Because next time they clash, she is not going to let him win so easily. With that, she leaves the carriage, leaving him wondering why she even came out here in the first place. Still, it warms his heart and gives Aster the ultimate drive to make it back to his family, no matter what. Arriving at the creepy shadow ruler's domain, the guards welcome them, saying the elders are waiting inside right now. Hifrid tells them he knows the way, but they refuse to let him and his son walk around unescorted. Under strict orders to keep them under tight watch. Just like that, our boy knows for a fact these guys are totally hostile toward him. This is definitely not a sweet family reunion. The vibe is completely off. Even though this place looks terrifying, his old memories still recognize this creepy estate as his former home. As they are walked in, Hifrid warns his son to keep his cool, even if these guys try to bait him. Aster is still incredibly stubborn, which is the main issue here. Suddenly, he gets totally distracted by the intense fights happening in the training arena. And trust me, you and I won't be seeing Dallas anytime soon after his hand got completely wrecked last time. Alright, you and I are diving right back in, as Hifrid tells his boy to pay attention. Aster promises his pops he'll behave, since his sis wants him back in one piece. And nope, not that one piece. Finally, our boys step right into the big bad Elders' Council chamber. The head honcho sitting, right in the middle points out, it's been 10 whole years since their last family reunion. The old-timer calls Hifrid his grandson, and Hifrid immediately drops to one knee, greeting the 6th head as the family great-grandpa. From where he's standing, our boy can instantly feel that this old geezer is a straight-up monster, lurking in the Elmheim family shadows. Zenu's Elmheim. The other elders sitting there are also major power players, each holding some serious weight in the council. Luckily, Aster actually recognizes a few of these big shots' faces. But what really grinds his gears is why Roderick skipped out on this meeting. And like he's literally reading the kid's mind, Zenus promises him the guy he's looking for won't be showing up. See, Roderick leads the royal family's personal nights, meaning he's got real business to handle instead of wasting time at pointless meetings. So the old-timers are running the show in his place. Back in his past life, our boy never even got a glimpse of Zenus once. But the fact that this grandpa gathered all these high-ranking bosses without needing Roderick proves he's holding some crazy amount of power over the whole family. Getting straight to the point, Hifrid asks why the heck they were called here. Zenus just chuckles. Now pay attention, because Zenus knows these two already figured out what happened back at that Wild Sword Dance Festival. Just like our boy guessed, it's about that dumb festival, but Hifrid argues that Roderick already settled the score. But in reality, the elders know that cleanup was just a show for the public. The family's reputation got dragged through the mud, and that is a cold, hard fact. For starters, adopting a kid from outside the bloodline was a huge mistake they shouldn't have ignored. But then that very same kid turned around and trashed the main family's good name. The only option left is to kick the kid out, because the higher-ups won't take anything less. Even Hifrid is getting punished for this mess. Aster stands straight up and barks that he's the troublemaker here, so they need to leave his dad out of it. But his dad just quietly takes the hit and tells his boy to sit down and chill. The elder snaps at the kid, telling him he has zero manners for interrupting grown-up talk. Xenu stands tall, bragging about commanding over 12,000 knights who carry their family name. Sure, those soldiers carry the entire family on their backs, but they aren't the only line of defense keeping them safe. They've got tons of haters, just waiting for the perfect chance to snatch their #1 spot. Let that sink in. Some of those haters are in this very room. Tapping his cane with every single step, Xenus demands peace of mind and some real proof that these two won't bring trouble to the Elmheims. So he pulls a sword and shoves it right in Hifrid's face, bringing up how he lost his arm to Roderick the last time he crossed the family. To prove his absolute loyalty to the family, Xenus drops a straight-up evil ultimatum: cut off the head of his own son, Aster, and they will totally clear their names. But before they can even try to negotiate, Hifrid slams down a massive no, shouting that he'd way rather chop off his own head than touch his kid. Aster is super touched by this, but Xenus thinks it's pathetic and decides they both just need to die. Every single person in this branch family, including Hifrid's wife and daughters, is getting completely wiped out. Today is the day this entire Viscount branch family gets erased from history. Just like that, the knights surround the defenseless duo with swords drawn. But to really trigger the old fossil, the boy asks what the sixth head is so terrified of. He's got a whole squad of grown men shaking in their boots over one kid, terrified of being betrayed by their own loyal servants. Aster mocks Xenus, telling him to go right ahead. Go ahead, banish Aster or cut him down. But the second anyone messes with his family, that is a line they should never have crossed. Right then, Aster rips off his choker and tears his shirt wide open, showing the elders the legendary mark of the 7 crests on his back. If the Elmheims try him, these wings are going to chop them all to pieces. So they seriously need to watch their next step. Bro's threat completely stuns everyone. The immediate reaction: total, absolute denial. They can't believe the 7th crest actually popped up on a human after hundreds of years. A speechless Xenus asks if the boy even knows what he's flaunting. Aster just smirks at their swords. Trust me, you and I are going to love seeing these guys lose their minds. Let's dive into this wild meeting as one of the council members starts laughing uncontrollably. Xenus explains that this magic crest is basically a spiritual organ passed down through generations to supercharge their power. And yet, absolutely no human has ever unlocked the 7th wing crest, except for the legendary creators of the crests themselves. Aster quickly catches on, asking if they are trying to accuse him of belonging to the spirit clan. Xenus wonders if those wings are actually real, while the Viscount watches the whole drama unfold with deep interest. Our boy fires back, saying he is still the Viscount's son, and the details of his birth do not matter. What he really wants to know is if they want him as an ally or an enemy, because even if they exile him, there are plenty of other noble houses out there who would instantly welcome the insane power of his wings. Pay close attention here, because the shadow rulers of this council are about to bring major trouble to their doorstep. So keeping him close is definitely the smartest move they could possibly make. After all, these 7 wings are destined to surpass even the legendary Duke Roderick once he reaches his full potential. Those bold words absolutely terrify the elders because they know he is right, and their noble family is not some unbreakable monolith. Rebellions are brewing, and a massive civil war is destined to tear this entire country apart very soon. It is going to swallow the very future that Aster has already seen with his own eyes. To ensure his family survives the brutal onslaught to come, this boy is determined to choose his own allies and enemies, even if he must take insane risks. Still acting all high and mighty, Xenus barks that the kid cannot be worth that much, especially since they have not even verified if those wings are real. Knowing he has these old boomers right where he wants them, Aster straight up dares them to take his head. Because doing that would mean declaring an all-out war between their factions. Honestly, you and I know they could easily slaughter him if they wanted, but that is not the point. He just wants their reaction. While Xenus is busy second-guessing his choices, one man stands up to cut the endless chatter, suggesting a proper trial for Aster to prove his worth. Earl May speaks up against the council's wishes, arguing it is the only way for everyone to witness the 7 wings. Then they can decide the boy's fate. It is a smart move, especially since they are the ultimate warrior clan. Setting up a few trials for the kid should be a walk in the park. This blue-haired man came to his rescue, and Aster instantly knows this guy will soon become a valuable ally in this fragile game. Xenus is totally swayed by the Earl's idea, ordering the boy to follow him so he can teach this arrogant kid a lesson. Next, we head to the testing grounds. It is a grim, pitch-black cage, leading down to a massive underground bunker connected to the city sewers. The place was built as an emergency escape shelter, which explains why there is a massive magical beast guarding the area. The mission is simple. Aster just has to slay this monster and survive. Hifrid is absolutely furious that the kid got into trouble again, ignoring the Viscount's warning to keep his wings hidden. But Aster knows this was the right call, since keeping a massive secret like this forever was completely impossible. As he heads in, his father warns him to stay alert and not let his guard down. But Aster just rides the chain down like a total badass, noticing the Earl smiling as if he expects big things. Our boy hits the ground moments later, finding himself in absolute darkness, where it is almost impossible to see a thing. Suddenly, he freezes in total shock, as Xenus reveals he sent Dallas down here earlier to reclaim his honor. Want to know how that went? The poor guy's head is rolling on the floor, unable to even scratch the beast. Spotting the massive monster, Aster draws his blade while Xenus eagerly waits to see if he survives. The beast lets out a massive roar to intimidate him, but our main character is not even sweating it. He is just relieved to see those rumors about a hidden beast in the mansion were actually true. Seeing what is left of Dallas actually makes him feel a little bad for how the kid went out. And trust me, as this beast lunges to finish him, you and I know the real monsters are those council elders. Let's dive in as Aster answers with one clean slice, shredding the beast with strikes all over, completely leaving those old geezers shook by his insane power. Once it is done, Bro is barely impressed, complaining that his sister Kudo is way scarier and stronger. But the fight is not over yet, as the very same monster he just sliced up begins to regenerate. Turns out, this freak is actually an undead zombie, and honestly, one of the ugliest things ever. Hifrid screams about how unfair this is, asking why they would even keep a nasty monster like this inside their own basement. Xenus explains that this thing loves the smell of death, which is why it crept into their basement, where death is always lingering. You literally cannot kill this monster with normal swords or basic fire magic. That is why Xenus locked it up, thinking it would make the ultimate test of strength. Plus, it is a super easy way to get rid of any extra bodies lying around. Now watch closely, because even though Aster won once, this zombie is in a whole different league. It took top-tier knights just to capture it, so making our boy kill it is basically forcing him into a tragic death trap for a gifted prodigy. The head elder does not care if the kid gets wiped out, claiming it would just prove he was useless anyway. On top of that, Xenus is totally fine with Aster dying because he has a secret plan to steal that powerful crest for himself if the kid bites the dust, making this whole trial super shady. The tables have turned. Even Earl Mays is sweating, hoping Aster can survive this mess. Meanwhile, back in the arena, both the boy and the monster are trading vicious blows. But no matter how many times Aster slices him up, the monster keeps coming. This guy's healing factor is way past your average zombie. The real annoying part about fighting an undead is that they are basically a cheat code. You either need bright sunlight to burn them away, or some kind of holy weapon to purify them for good. If you do not have those, your best bet is to run away. That is just basic common sense. But our boy has zero sunlight in this dark basement, and running away is absolutely not an option. You and I both know our boy hates looking average, so he decides to make a massive, unforgettable statement. Shredding the zombie with heavier and heavier magical attacks. He is trying to completely overpower this ugly beast with endless destructive spells, leaving the watching elders totally jaw-dropped. They wonder if he actually beat the thing, while Zenus just watches closely, knowing the battle is far from over. As the smoke clears, the elder acts all sad, pretending to pity the kid for his upcoming doom. Suddenly, Aster gets grabbed like a ragdoll and slammed hard into the dirt, with the fully healed zombie pinning him down with a massive advantage. The Viscount screams for his boy, but Earl May tells him to stay put because jumping in would be incredibly stupid. Hyfried snaps back, asking if he is supposed to just stand there and watch his son get torn to pieces. Having way more faith in Aster than his own dad, Earl Mays tells him to chill out. Because looking at that cocky smirk on the kid's face, it is obvious Aster has got a secret weapon ready to go. The creature is definitely feeling the heat, shrinking down with every strike as Aster's mana blade does some serious damage. Riding that high energy. This clone of Anakin Skywalker channels the dark side, pulling out a red lightsaber to stab the monster. His plan is to just spam the exact same attack over and over until the beast dies, completely blowing its head apart with the raw force of his magic sword. It is the same exact move Hyfried showed him during training, but something about this version is totally different. A massive energy vortex blasts forward, literally turning the undead into dust. Bro seriously hollow purple D, this guy so hard that the entire basement starts caving in, leaving everyone else panicking and begging Zenus to get out. But Zenus just stands there farming aura, not moving an inch as he stares at the beautiful power of the 7 wings. Once the ceiling crashes down, the big question is, where did that giant ugly monster actually go? Zenus knows the truth. The beast got caught in a massive vortex, dying over and over without any chance to regenerate. It was a pure flex of ultimate magical pressure. Something you cannot copy with mere technique, just raw, unfiltered strength. Zenus then asks if Hyfried helped out with that final blow. But the Viscount shakes his head, admitting even he is shocked by the kid's crazy growth. And that is where we leave it, trust me, our boy definitely passed that crazy exam. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the action, where nobody can even argue with our boy Aster, winning this insane trial. They tell him to hurry on up, but our young master is completely tangled in heavy chains and needs someone to toss him a rope first. Next up, Zenus pulls the boy aside for a quiet, low-key chat, warning him that this is his one and only shot. But Aster makes it crystal clear that he has zero interest in fighting for control of the main family. Just hanging around the main estate would only stress out his cousins. And he is not trying to cause any drama. Honestly, he only cares about the Viscount's house, which Zenus thinks is just him acting super humble. Even though Aster cannot hide the burning fire and ambition gleaming in his eyes. The old man is sharp enough to sense that this kid wants to crush the Elmheim family someday, leaving him wondering if Rodri is his actual target. This instantly puts our boy on high alert and totally on guard. Zenus tells him to chill out, claiming he has no interest in starting any new drama for now. This actually shocks Aster, since the 6th head is usually supposed to destroy any kind of rebel on sight. The old man explains that they are not all on the same team. Rodri is way too powerful for anyone to control. So Aster could keep him in check, but pay close attention because if the kid ever crosses the elders, he is absolutely done for. That wraps up their meeting. Aster heads outside to his dad, who is super curious about what went down. Our boy explains that he got a golden ticket to join the main family, but he turned it down flat. Which totally shocks the Viscount, since Aster would have been living the high life, even if they were keeping tabs on him. Earl May agrees too. But the real million-dollar question for Aster is why this guy, who looks straight out of Genshin Impact, decided to help him. The man plays it cool, claiming he just wanted to mess with the brat. His sassy answer definitely annoys Aster a bit. But what actually matters is that our boy is now officially the true master and wielder of the legendary 7 wings. In fact, he tells the kid to look around. Tons of people are already plotting his doom or trying to steal his power, thinking they can easily manipulate a kid for their own gain. The legendary 7 wings crest is a massive deal, carrying serious political weight no matter who holds it. Aster is basically a walking target now, which is why he gives Earl Mays a massive side eye to see if he is a threat too. But look at this. The guy reveals he is actually an academy director who just loves scouting out super promising young talent. And the guy in the back is no different. Basically, this gorgeous anime professor with total main character energy is trying to recruit our boy for his school down the line. With that, they part ways, leaving Aster thinking this dude is a total enigma. It is impossible to tell if he is friend or foe. Either way, Aster's dad hugs him and says it is finally time for them to pack up and head back home. Aster jokes that his mom is going to totally pass out when she sees his battle scars. Now, let's head over to see what Rodri is up to. Back at the main estate, a guard reports that Dallas did not survive the trial. But the Knight Commander only cares about what happened with the legendary High Freed's kid. The guard realizes these ruthless leaders do not care about Dallas at all. Still, he confirms the big news: the kid actually has the 7 wings. To his absolute shock, the commander already knew all about it. Realizing the power balance is about to change forever, the guard begs his commander to take some kind of action right now. But Roderick literally does not care, claiming that if a little drama like this could bring down their house, Elmheim would have been destroyed a long time ago. This guy is secretly plotting to steal the 7 wings for himself. For now, letting the kid run free works perfectly, letting him enjoy the show as this baby he spared finally starts to grow up. Whose true identity is Ash, the fated child of the 7 wings. 4 whole years fly by after his meeting with the elders. And this is where we leave things today, as our main man steps up to absolutely steal the spotlight. Nobody can believe this is the legendary boy from all the rumors. The receptionist just hands him a waiver, stating the school is not responsible if he gets hurt during the exam. He has to sign the paper and then show his winged crest to prove he actually has the magic to back it up. The clerk is just casually doing his job until his eyes lock onto the name Elmheim, instantly freezing him in absolute shock. Aster! Aster! All right, you and I are jumping back in with our boy, now buff and tall, joking if he even needs an ID when his face is already a whole 10 out of 10. Walking through the crowd like he owns the place. Aster totally ignores some random loudmouth yelling at him. This is Big Smites, an insecure veteran screaming that our boy has wandered into the absolute wrong neighborhood. Since this elite selection is only for the absolute best knights. Reserved only for royal candidates. Though this dude is totally glazing the hierarchy, Aster literally could not care less and just ignores him. The loudmouth brags about how everyone struggled just to fail this brutal exam over and over, all for a tiny chance to even touch the path of greatness. And then there is Aster. Rocking a cute kitty sword and acting like he is hot stuff, Smites claims they do not need trash like him. So he tells him to get lost. Everyone can tell Smites is just doing his usual routine, hazing the newcomers like a classic college bully picking on freshmen. But here is the catch. Now watch closely, because Smites picked the worst day to mess with this kid, since rumors say he is actually Aster of the legendary 7 wings. Hearing that, Smites' tiny brain completely short-circuits. But then, another big shot arrives to welcome our boy to the party. It is his cousin Gryan, who laughs and claims that absolutely nobody here has ever heard of Aster's existence before. Which is why he is loudly announcing that they are related. To shut him up, our boy casually offers his condolences about Dallas. Now, that is a massive emotional burn. But the cousin acts tough, saying Dallas deserved to die because he was weak. Gryan never cared about his annoying, arrogant older brother anyway. And even if he knows nothing about the secret family drama, one thing is clear. He warns Aster to never underestimate the main family, because nobody here is going to protect him. That spicy threat gets everyone whispering, realizing the Elmheim family is about to run a massive vibe check on each other during the trial. The family drama is real, but the absolute funniest part is Smites' reaction. Who is literally shaking in his boots, stuttering over his words, asking if this black-haired kid is really an Elmheim. Our boy just laughs at the sudden respect, offering a handshake and telling him that just calling him Aster is totally fine. We cut to the first testing ground, where the examiner welcomes all the hopeful candidates, declaring that the Royal Knights are miles ahead of local fighters. Serving the king directly and protecting the throne with their lives, they absolutely do not mess around with cheap weapons. What they have is sheer dominance, and today's trials will test if these candidates are truly fit to serve the crown. Our boy, looking absolutely buff in this shot, is just happy he finally made it back here. Remember, you and I know he could never stand here in his past life. But now, he is stepping into a dream world he never thought he could reach. A world where the guy at the absolute top of the food chain is his enemy, the royal commander Roderick himself. His hatred for that tyrant is deeper than anything in this story. Our boy is dying to slice his head off. But first, he has to breeze through this tedious selection exam. The exam kicks off with the proctor summoning magical spears and raining them down like massive missiles. Oh, and by the way, one spear literally impales a giant guy right behind Aster, meaning failure is literally death. Welcome to the turret trial. The last man standing wins, as a storm of spears rains down to shred these cowards while they struggle to defend themselves. At first, they try to flee, but the magical spears are way faster, skewering them left and right. The smarter play is for them to group up and shield one another, helping them survive this crazy all-around barrage. As always, the veteran players who failed before know exactly how to handle this. But the examiner knows that won't save most of them, because this first stage has a brutal 30% survival rate. Basic strategies will not keep them alive for long. But a few standouts are showing serious skills. Meanwhile, Aster is just standing there menacingly, letting the weapons fly right past him. Everyone else is wondering what his game plan even is. Or if he is just frozen solid in pure terror. Watching from afar, Gryan is praying for our boy to get absolutely slaughtered. This is the exact hype moment we have been waiting for. Aster unsheathes his gorgeous black sword in a flash of crimson rage, slicing every incoming spear to pieces. It is an absolute hurricane of blades, leaving him completely untouched, as our awakened young master basically dares the examiner to turn up the heat. Let's dive into this wild scene, where this kid unleashes a literal hurricane, completely blowing the examiner's mind. He cannot believe this absolute genius actually created a massive updraft, looking like he is the storm itself. Finally, that insane mana storm winds down, leaving everyone staring at our boy. The examiner even starts clapping for the survivors. He does it in a super creepy way, telling them to look at the losers on the floor to celebrate passing. But there is zero time to rest, because he is dragging them straight to the next trial. Smites and the crew are absolutely losing their minds in pure shock, realizing they do not even get a break after facing literal hell. Aster just roasts him for being tired already. Meanwhile, the senior is totally baffled by how this dude is not even sweating, while the examiner is watching him closely, convinced this seven wings wielder is an absolute beast. Honestly, things are getting crystal clear right now. Brian remembers getting orders from some big shot to make sure our boy never becomes a royal knight, all to protect the main family. The examiner brings everyone to the next stage, announcing they will all get matching swords to keep things fair. A few candidates look pretty confused. Our boy wonders if something is up, but Smite says these swords are usually the same. He figures they are just sweating, because Aster has that insanely overpowered mana blade. Basically, they are forcing this fairness rule, just because our boy's weapon is way too broken. Breaking the peace, Brian rolls up to trash talk his cousin, teasing Smites for being Aster's little hype man. The senior tries to stand up for himself, but Brian keeps roasting him, calling him a cheap, third-rate noble who is about to learn a brutal lesson for teaming up with the wrong guy. This scary threat instantly turns the senior into a coward. He starts kissing up to Brian immediately, claiming he has absolutely nothing to do with Aster. Our boy is not even surprised, but it shows how easily his so-called allies will fold under pressure. It is a dog-eat-dog world out here. Luckily, the examiner steps in to explain the rules. Pay attention here, because they are splitting up into 3 separate teams for a massive siege battle. You claim a camp by raising your team flag, and you need to lock down at least 2 camps to win. You cannot break the flags, but other than that, absolutely everything goes in this test. Those practice swords, yeah, you are allowed to kill anyone in your way. It is a straight-up deathmatch. Now that the rules are set, the examiner splits them up. Brian gets camp red. Some other big shot gets yellow, while Smites and Aster take blue. Once the smoke signal fires, the game is officially on. They have 3 flags spread across the camps, and the goal is to capture 2 of them. Now watch closely here, because only 1 camp out of 3 will survive, and Aster smells something fishy. Meanwhile, the other guys are completely terrified of facing the legendary Elmheim family. Our boy honestly does not get their fear. The senior explains that they are all terrified of retaliation, especially since Brian is the heir of that crazy powerful family. If anyone even points a sword at him, their entire family gets wiped out. Talk about extreme. That fear is real. Aster asks if they are already giving up on the trial. The senior says it is better to just wait for the next test, instead of throwing their lives away. These cowards assume a monster with 7 wings, could never understand how tough it is for regular people. Well, things just got interesting. Aster is going completely solo for Team Blue now. He totally gets why they are scared. Those tyrants expect everyone to just bow down to them. With Brian being the face of that family, it makes total sense why these regular guys are completely terrified. Jumping into a family feud is always a massive headache, so our boy actually gets their logic. Still, when he walks up to the yellow base, the whole place is dead silent, making him wonder what is up. The camp leader is actually impressed that Aster showed up entirely on his own, without any backup. This means everything is playing out exactly how some mystery puppet master planned, which definitely gets Aster's attention. Our boy is shocked to see the yellow camp already tore down their own flag. He waves his flag, challenging our boy. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. Yo, you and I are jumping right into a massive betrayal, with the red and yellow camps teaming up. And the big brain mastermind behind this, none other than Grian, who rounded up a whole army from both camps, just to show his cousin how the Elmheims get down in a real fight. This siege battle has 20 fighters split into 3 squads. The goal is dirt simple. Just raise your flag in the enemy base to pass. Right now, our guy is squaring off with this blondie. Aster is wondering why this dude ditched the yellow team to side with the reds. Blondie basically admits he teamed up with the Elmheims just to wipe our boy off the map. By the way, this rich kid is the oldest son of the legendary Nolan family, the actual founders of royal swordsmanship. And get this, bro is literally named Christopher Nolan. Yes, like the movie director, spawned into this manhwa in all his glory. Anyway, the first test did not really showcase Nolan's hype skills, because Aster flexed his crazy storm magic. But the only two who cleared the entire challenge without sweating a drop were these guys. It is a massive flex for Nolan to match the power of a 7 Wings user. Now watch closely, because only one of these monsters can actually pass. Let us see how this crazy back and forth clash unfolds. Our boy points out that even with an alliance, only one team can actually take home the victory. But the sneaky Nolan already agreed to let the Elmheims win, teaming up with Grian to raid the blue base. That means Smite and the squad are in major trouble back home. Aster asks if this guy was also blackmailed by Grian the exact same way. Nolan does not care at all. He is just following the strict pecking order of knights, since acting superior is just natural for these fancy nobles. His flashy sword style actually surprises Aster as heavy strikes chip away at his blade, but check out this sketchy detail. Looks like the academy staff rigged the exam, handing Aster a broken sword. The entire game is literally set up to ruin him. Nolan keeps spamming thrusts, yelling that he always hated the Elmheims, especially an annoying show-off like Aster. With that, the dude literally shatters our boy's sword. But that will not put our hero down. Like a mini beast, he grabs a piece of his broken metal and chucks it like a bullet, forcing Nolan to barely block. It was just a wild distraction to let our boy slip away from the fight. Aster cannot waste time fighting him when his friends are about to get absolutely wrecked. The blonde gets all cocky, thinking he scared our boy off. But let us pause for a second. Look where his eyes are pointing right now. Staring closely at the shard, Nolan realizes the blade was cheap trash. Meaning his own family rigged the fight and totally ruined his fun. Aster rushes back to base looking for Smite, but Grian is already chilling there with his red flag flying high over the blue camp. The smug young master assumes Nolan lost his match, but he does not even care because his team has already locked down their fancy third base. Talk about a complete takeover. Ignoring the loser's trash talk, Aster demands to know what happened to his teammates. This ruins Grian's mood right before a blade points directly at Aster's spine. And guess what? It is Smite pulling off a double betrayal, classic snake move. The older student is drowning in guilt, but he is doing it purely to save his own skin. Grian mocks the blue team for folding like lawn chairs, without even trying to fight back. Though he is glad these low-born commoner fools actually have the brain cells to pick the winning side for once. Aster asks if they really think a cheap numbers game can take him down. But Grian laughs, explaining they already won because securing 2 bases guarantees the win. So even if our boy sprints across the entire map as fast as possible to raise his flags at each spot, he cannot defend them. The second he runs to another base, Grian's guys will just steal the old one back. It is a never-ending cycle of despair, keeping them stuck in a loop. Honestly, for a standard cheap villain, that is actually a pretty solid tactical plan. But our guy has his own strategy, which involves beating the absolute brakes off every single person here. Aster reaching for his sword terrifies the traitors, but the rich kid master calls our boy's bluff right away. He already knows that blade is a cheap fake. Even with insane 7 Wings power, a warrior is useless without a sword. So, does this budget Jon Snow really think he can fight a whole army bare-handed? But you see, Aster is literally made of raw aura. He unsheathes his broken sword, stuns Smite, and tosses it. Trust me, you and I are about to watch this villain realize he messed up big time. Get ready, because you and I are jumping right in as this broken sword hits the dirt, and our boy plots his next move. First, our boy plays nice, hyping up Jin's strategy to drop his guard, but the second bro's weapon actually hits the floor. Our guy hits the nitro, kicking the absolute daylight out of Smite and sending him flying yards away. He snatches the flying sword right out of the air and instantly blasts his enemies with a massive wave of mana. Everything went down in a split second, completely breaking Gry's brain. Meanwhile, our boy points his blade right at him, making it clear that his only mistake was choosing to square up directly, which is exactly why Bro is taking a massive loss. His cousin is panicking and calling him a total monster. Aster channels magic into his boots, launching straight up like a rocket to close the gap before Grian can even try to run away like a coward. With one single slash, Bro gets wrecked and his sword is shattered. This whole moment actually takes Aster back to the very first time he flew. Now pay close attention to this part, because his cousin's face is pure comedy as he begs for mercy before Aster absolutely obliterates that entire wall. Smite and the crew are completely baffled, wondering what kind of wild fighting style this is. Once the dust clears, they see Aster dragging his cousin's body, giving Major Luke Skywalker dragging Darth Vader vibes from Star Wars. He drops the body right there for the whole crowd to witness. Grian screams at his squad, asking why they're just watching him get absolutely steamrolled instead of jumping in on his official command from House Elmheim. As Smite and the others charge in, Aster wonders if they're really that terrified of getting crushed by the main family. For low-tier nobles like Smite, they're basically nothing and could easily disappear without a trace. He watched his own dad beg before the Elmheims because they were complete weaklings who only existed to please the bosses above them. Naturally, someone born with everything like Aster could never understand what it's like to be powerless. He gets slightly annoyed, but then our boy just starts laughing. This whole situation reminds him of his sister Kyudo, who always drilled it into his head that he'd never truly get the struggles of the weak. Let's pause here, because our main character totally gets that he's incredibly privileged compared to everyone else. But that's why he's stepping up, boldly declaring that his real target is the main house Elmheim itself. And that if these cowards won't change their own destiny, he will step in and completely smash this family's corrupt, tyrannical rule. This legendary speech instantly stirs up the hearts of everyone in the arena. Grian has no clue what his cousin is talking about, while Smite begs Aster to think about his words. But our boy knows exactly what he wants. He has officially declared war on the entire main family, refusing to kiss up to the Elmheims, because playing nice will only lead them to a miserable and pathetic end anyway. As he lays it straight to them, the only real way out is to fight through. With his 7 wings, they actually stand a chance. Now these guys have a massive choice to make. Are they with Aster or are they sticking with Gry? It is a heavy decision for these commoners and low-ranking nobles. Even with a sword pressed against his neck, this bratty cousin still tries to flex his family name for leverage, threatening to remember their names if they betray him, warning that absolute hell will come their way to scare them back into line. Smite is sweating bullets under all the pressure, but he finally makes his choice. Dropping his sword to the floor, he steps forward to join Aster's side, ready to do whatever it takes to crush the main family. Like a real boss, our boy guarantees he'll keep his word. This prompts Jin to hoist the blue flag, officially declaring their alliance with Aster. This move completely stuns the crowd, who can't believe someone actually defected, totally ruining Gry's entire playbook. As for the cousin, Bro is literally seething with pure villain energy, calling everyone a bunch of straight-up monkeys. Smite screams at the commoners to wake up and seize the opportunity of a lifetime by teaming up with the epic power of the 7 wings. Now that he's on board, Aster is confident he won't have to carry this flag game entirely on his own anymore, completely shutting down Grian's sneaky strategy. But even this isn't enough to topple the massive House Elmheim, meaning our boy is going to need way more allies to succeed. A follower from Camp Red asks if the young master is okay, only to get slapped away with pure rage. And that's where we leave it, with this kid absolutely seething that a branch family member could actually pull this off. Alright, you and I are about to watch Grian absolutely lose his mind if this kid gets away and ruins his family rep. No way is he going down like his trash brother, so Grian activates his final trump card. Too bad for him, because the final boss just arrived. Nolan rolls up just to trash-talk the Elmheim young master for looking so pathetic. But with backup here, Gryan immediately orders Nolan to put an end to Aster. Talk about getting a massive second wind. He might not have 7 wings like Aster, but this kid's sword skills are legendary. He is easily the better duelist, which should totally level the playing field, right? Psych, Nolan literally chucks that ugly red flag right in Gryan's face, telling him he is just there to return it. Sure, he wanted an alliance with Elmheim at first. But this cousin's cheap tricks go completely against his personal honor code. So yeah, the deal is officially off. Talk about a total plot twist. Everyone realizes even a beast like Nolan won't play along with Elmheim, putting them right back at the start. Remember that unfinished fight from earlier? It's on. Nolan is definitely not letting this end without a proper winner. He draws his sword to protect his family name, squaring up against the legendary boy with the 7 wings. Don't blink during this part. Nolan charges in at absolute warp speed, thrusting his sword like a spear to prove who is boss. But Aster is not in the mood for any of this right now. Slamming Nolan's blade straight into the dirt with crazy power, as if it was absolutely nothing. Absolutely stunned, the blonde asks what his deal is, since only one team can actually clear this test. It is literally a zero-sum game if they want to move on and become royal knights. Backing off a bit, Nolan insists this is the only way they can settle their score. But our main man has a different plan, saying he wants an absolute prodigy like Nolan to become a knight too. It sounds amazing, but with these rules, it's totally impossible. Aster knows he didn't fire up the spirits of everyone here, just to abandon them over some stupid team bracket rules. Turns out, Bro actually has a wild plan to get every single person through this test, leaving Jin and Nolan completely speechless. You and I both know even Smite has zero clue what crazy strategy our boy is about to cook up. Our main guy explains that to pull this off, he needs every single camp to work together. Which means he has to walk up to his trash cousin, who looks like a beaten pup, and offer him a hand. Soon after, something crazy happens. The camps team up and tie all 3 flags together, which totally pisses off the examiner for bending the rules. Aster fires back, pointing out the goal was simply to capture 2 or more camps. There's a loophole because nobody ever said they couldn't put 2 flags on a single camp. So they made one big alliance and occupied every territory at the same time. This strategy is absolutely brilliant and completely outsmarts the system. Even though the examiner screams that this completely ruins the spirit of the test. Smite worries their master plan is toast, and honestly, even Gry has zero faith in this working. The examiner is totally fuming at this crazy kid, who basically shook hands with his rivals and broke the entire system. Aster just chillaxed and told him he would always make peace if keeping his enemies alive was more useful to him. Pushing the examiner over the edge as he screams that a knight is just a sword meant to strike, not to lead. Our boy gets where he is coming from, but reminds him they did not technically break a single rule. So if they get disqualified just to soothe some guy's ego, the examiner fails at his job. Talk about getting completely checkmated. Plus, our boy quietly drops a truth bomb that failing everyone would bring down the absolute wrath of Elmheim. And they definitely won't let that slide. Boom, that is game over right there, folks. After that, the examiner has to double-check with the higher-ups, leaving everyone waiting around for more than an hour. A few guys are stressed out, wondering if they are all getting kicked out together. Honestly, Aster is not even sure. He just laid out a logical plan, but sitting way on the other side is Jin, looking completely miserable. This low-tier noble whispers how insane it is that Gryan actually agreed to help, wondering what kind of magic words were used on him. Our guy just smirks, saying it was no big deal. Finally, the examiner returns with the verdict, announcing that Principal Mumer himself is here to deliver the final exam results. And that's where we leave things, with everyone losing their minds over this normal-looking old man, while Aster begs Smite to show some respect. You and I are watching the Seven Wings Kid. Mimor basically roasts him for forcing their hand. I mean, having this many passing candidates is literally historic for the second trial. Sure, the other higher-ups were totally begging for a complete do-over. But he actually rolls with Aster's rules. Our boy is super confused until the big boss cracks a huge smile and congratulates everyone for officially passing, telling them to grind hard and show the world they actually deserve to be enrolled in this elite place. Just like that, the entire crew gets into the Dorsal Royal Knight Academy. They hit the luxury dorms, and Smite is absolutely loving this 5-star treatment. Talk about living the dream life. And it's all thanks to their savior, Aster. Our main man is just vibing while everyone else is losing their minds over actually making the cut. This massively boosts his clout with the regular folks. Now, you and I need to look closely at Nolan's insane physique. This absolute unit sneers at these clowns for instantly jumping onto Aster's hype train. He has zero plans of thanking our boy, even though Smite totally crushes his ego by pointing out he lost to Aster. But honestly, our main guy does not care. He's focused on the massive clash with the Elmheims and sharing the big spotlight with his fellow candidates. Little wins like this prove that a huge rebellion is brewing to overthrow the main family when the moment strikes. The revolt starts right within these walls. Meanwhile, Nolan's older sisters have already graduated. But Ulfen is still around since she started last year, making her a perfect ally for him. Classes officially kick off tomorrow. Aster climbs out of the pool to get used to the academy vibes before the real grind begins. But when he turns around, he finds his loyal fan club literally stalking his every move. Our guy is totally creeped out when he sees them lurking. These goons are acting like loyal puppies who want to worship him like a prophet, convinced our boy is a walking good luck charm. Smite and the squad literally start praying to him. Meanwhile, Nolan realizes this is going to be one painfully long school year. Next up, we cut to Grion meeting his mother. The lady who ordered him to crush Aster is fuming at the results. Now, the Elmheims are the ones running scared. I know what you're thinking, she's furious. Helen Elmheim is a savage out for blood, unable to accept that this kid let a Viscount's son start a rebellion. Their entire family got humiliated, while Grion just stood there like a complete chump and did absolutely nothing. Trying to reason with his psycho mom, Grion promises he'll totally crush it next time. But his sister jabs him straight in the throat, screaming that garbage like him does not get a second chance. Trash like Grion doesn't deserve the Elmheim name. At least, that's what Lillian thinks. Another crazy, savage daughter who literally wants to feed her brother to monsters for embarrassing them like this. They treat him just like Dallas. Even though the dude begs his own sister for mercy, he gets hit with a brutal, agonizing kick straight to the gut. The beatdown keeps going until it is drilled into Grion's skull that all of this is Aster's fault. He ruined everything. But remember, our boy actually gave him a really solid deal back then, warning him that if the family elder found out, Grion got completely wrecked and embarrassed. He would be slaughtered like an animal. To escape a dog's death just like his brother got, Grion decided to follow Aster's advice. Aster had literally seen Dallas get torn to pieces, and he put the absolute fear of death into this guy's soul. Thankfully, the beatdown stops when one of the older brothers steps into the room. Julius thinks it is pathetic that their little brother is crying like a baby. But wait, here is the absolute worst part. Julius has Ulfen sitting on his lap like a pet, treating her like she is nothing but a toy. One thing is totally clear in their mother's eyes. The pride and legendary reputation of the Elmheim family is starting to crack because of the Seven Wings. Which is why their next mission is to go out and remind everyone that their name is not to be messed with. The siblings are absolutely thrilled, totally ready to unleash the sheer cruelty their family is known for. Training classes officially kick off under the direct supervision of the prestigious Royal Knights. These guys are elite warriors who completely outclass everyone else in battle. The absolute strongest, peak-tier fighters of this caliber belong to this elite group. Anyone who wants to reach these legendary ranks has to be incredibly special. You and I can see Smite is struggling, since his sword cannot even chop a wooden board. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where candidates are split into 6 grades, getting classes based on their raw talent. Basically, the better you are, the more chances you get to learn the really overpowered stuff. And if you can only swing a sword, congrats, you are officially labeled 3rd class. Evanjin is out here fighting for survival. Second-rate fighters are the ones who can wield intense magic on the fly. Meanwhile, Nolan is looking super confident with his training so far. Lastly, the absolute beasts mastering both sword and magic are first-rate. And don't worry, the examiner does not care about anyone below 3rd class. If you want the top-tier skills, you've got to constantly show off your power and worth. But while this guy is busy giving his speech, our boy is casually slicing dimensions with a single mana blade. The crowd is completely jaw-dropped. Aster finishes the swing, cleaving the test board like it is nothing. This is the peak everyone else is aiming for, but the regular fighters cannot even begin to comprehend this power. Watch closely as Mim stares in shock. The crazy force of the 7 wings completely vaporizing an iron pillar dense as a golem, proving to everyone this kid is not playing around. His hidden potential is off the charts, but if Aster does not keep sharpening his skills, he will get eaten alive by the Academy Giants, like that monster Ulu's Elmheim. Smite is super annoyed about getting tested again, even after passing, which just shows how crazy obsessed this academy is with merit. Nolan and our main man are the only ones landing in the 4th grade classes instead of the rock-bottom 6th, while Smite is totally leagues ahead. Here is the catch. Aster reveals that only 2nd grade royal warriors or above make it to actual royal knights, telling his crew to catch up fast. Smite complains that his boss is a total slave driver, which ticks Aster off. Then he asks if the young master forgot his promise to crush House Elmheim. Especially since so many allies are banking on those words. Believing Aster is going to flip this whole world upside down, it is the first time they have ever felt this hopeful, so he cannot let them down now. Smite is already hyping up the fall of the Elmheims, but once again, Aster just teases him to go get stronger first, but secretly, he is driven to wipe out the main family the second he gets ridiculously overpowered. But before any of that world takeover talk, they need post-training snacks, but you and I know a crazy commotion is already brewing over at the cafeteria. Looks like big trouble is going down. Enjoying his food is Julius, who finally greets Aster, calling him his brother. Sitting right beside him is Lillian, and at their feet is someone our boy has not even noticed yet. This blonde dude is the main family's 2nd son, and next in line for the crown. His sister Lillian is just as savage right beside him. Together, they are known as the Tyrant siblings, the most brutal duo in the family. This makes things way harder for our boy, since both of them are attending this academy. Lillian immediately takes an interest in our boy, calling him cute, unlike Jin, who is groveling at their feet, muffled and completely unable to speak because of the mask they slapped on him. That is called the Iron Shackle, a brutal torture tool the family uses to punish anyone they label a failure. It is an item our boy knows all too well from his past life. Julius, though, is actually pretty impressed by how much he knows. At the same time, he looks down at Jin, who shares their noble name but ended up a pathetic 6th grader. A totally embarrassing sight. But do not worry, Julius claims he is just being a loving older brother, using this punishment to motivate him. And the rest of his crew, same deal. Every single one of them is wearing those iron shackles. Their survival hinges on winning, which is literally the only way they are allowed to get food. If they fail, their food gets cut off and they starve. Julius laughs, calling them a bunch of hungry beasts who happen to be academy seniors. Among those beasts, he tells a certain someone to stop being shy and show her face. And out steps a girl, joining their forced little family reunion. The second Aster spots her red hair. He is totally traumatized, seeing Ulfen reduced to a literal slave under Julius's brutal command. Julius definitely pushed the right buttons to provoke him, and while Ulfen cannot bear to look at him, you and I know this means war. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a royal beatdown as Aster draws his sword, screaming at his brother. Julius just smiles, tossing a pile of heavy iron chains onto the ground to welcome the freshman class in style. Ever since Aster stepped foot in this academy, Elmheim's oldest son has been dying to throw him a brutal welcome party. He barks orders to his goons, telling them to drag the new kids straight into their new ironclad prison camp. The only way these lackeys get any dinner tonight is if they slam the rookies into the dirt and haul them off. Right on cue, the academy seniors draw their blades. Jumping the completely outnumbered freshies, poor Smite is already struggling to defend himself against them. Nolan looks around and realizes these guys are at least fourth-tier fighters, maybe even way stronger than that. Smite wanted a piece of Elmheim, but bro did not expect the final boss on day one. The power gap is insane. He begs our hero for a plan, but Aster is completely seeing red. Crimson mana bleeds off his blade as he absolutely tears through anyone stupid enough to stand in his way. Marching right up to Julius, he demands to know what the hell his big brother is trying to pull. Watch closely, the older brother keeps joking, claiming he is actually showing them some genuine goodwill. Since none of these trashy classmates have any talent to show. These pathetic weaklings who only passed the exam because of Aster have to be punished. They need to learn their place and remember they did not win on merit. To keep the Elmheim family name clean, Julius is ready to wipe those smug grins off their faces. And as the leader, he refuses to tolerate any useless weaklings in his crew. He is doing things the Elmheim way. But after listening to that long, boring speech, our boy straight up says he does not care. With his sword blazing with pure rage, he just wants this trash to take the mask off his sister's face. Aster leaps to strike him down, but out of nowhere, Ulfen steps in and blocks his sword, stopping him cold. She glares right through him like a stranger, swinging her blade with incredibly dangerous power. Julius laughs, bragging that his sister surrendered herself willingly, making it obvious she's been completely brainwashed. Lillian is amazed at how truly evil her brother is. Meanwhile, Aster finally understands why his sister went completely radio silent the moment she joined this school. He does not know what they did to her, but he is going all out to knock some sense back into her. But she savagely blows him back, refusing his help. Shaken by this, Nolan loses his cool and charges straight for Julius's neck to finish this nightmare once and for all. He aims his sword at the older Elmheim, who makes Grion look like a total saint. A piece of garbage like him calling himself a knight is totally disgusting. You and I both know Nolan is done talking. He speeds in to slice the siblings down, but wait for it. These guys are on a whole different level. Julius blocks the sharp blade with his bare hands, mocking him for thinking a sword makes him a better knight. Then, with absolute fury in his eyes, he unleashes a blast of fire that engulfs Nolan. This scorching heat is pure torture to survive, while Julius holds him tight, claiming he is the absolute strongest and most deserving of the title. With that, he kicks Nolan like a soccer ball and sends him flying. And trust me, that was no minor burn. Half of his face and his entire arm are completely charred. The injuries are brutal. Smite jumps in to help, but Lillian is excited to crush whatever pride these weaklings have left. She even brought a special metal helmet, calling it a perfect collar for their new pet Nolan. Of course, she does not give a single damn about Smite either. To Julius, being weak is the ultimate sin. Doing whatever you want is a special privilege, reserved only for the strong. Our boy gathered these allies, but they are getting absolutely wrecked and forced into helmets. That is Elmheim's rule, survival of the fittest. The older brother smugly asks Aster what his next move is, and which side he is going to choose. Snapping completely, Our boy rushes Julius at full speed, but the villain casually dodges the attack like he is bored. He grabs Aster's neck, using the exact same fire move he used to fry Nolan, planning to burn him to ashes. Honestly, this story is getting insanely hype right now, because even these side villains are actually overpowered beasts. While Smite panics for his boss, Julius mocks the strength of the Seven Wings, calling Aster a complete and total disappointment. But even as he is burning, our boy grips his sword, warning the jerk not to celebrate early. You and I know this fight is just getting started. Alright, you and I are about to watch Aster unleash a massive mana storm to totally extinguish those flames and shut down Julius's magic. His next strike goes straight for Julius's neck, sending him flying backward in a crazy spinning vortex of crimson energy and fire. Now that Aster broke free from the bind, he asks his dear older brother if he wants to keep yapping like he was before. You know, all that garbage about how strength crushes losers who need to shut up. Talk about some seriously wild trash talk. It is peak-level trash talking, and our main character is an absolute beast. Smite literally cannot believe his own eyes. Like this guy literally just smacked down the biggest boss in the academy, but Aster knows this battle is far from over. Julius gets right back up complaining about how much that blow hurt. But honestly, the guy looks completely fine as he dusts himself off and laughs that Aster couldn't even scratch his family crest. Smite realizes that absolutely nothing even happened. Lillian smiles smugly like she never had a single doubt in her mind, teasing him for talking all that trash only to get countered immediately. But Julius stays super chill about the situation, joking around that he actually has feelings, too. Though that cool attitude goes straight out the window when he explodes in rage after Aster calls him a piece of garbage. He points his blazing sword right at our main character, calling him way too cocky for flexing in their little match. But check this out, because Julius is bringing his real heat, promising Aster this is going to be his grave. Our boy does not care at all and tells him to stop with the empty threats and stop talking trash. He should just start attacking already. Like I said, this main character is a beast. Anyway, the blonde swordsman gets ready to clash. But right as round 2 is about to pop off, the academy director steps in, stopping them from completely wrecking the place. It is Earl Mays, and he reminds these blockheads that the cafeteria is for eating lunch, not tearing the entire building down. Even as a chill director, he cannot just sit back and watch their chaotic mess go on. But Julius behaves like he runs the school, telling the director himself to stay out of their business. Earl Mays does not even let the insult slide. He laughs at Julius for being a top-tier candidate who still gets triggered by someone of lower rank, which completely ruins his rep. So, by stepping in to bail Aster out, he forces Julius to finally sheath his sword and calm his angry self down, at least for now. The guy turns around and tells his squad to clear out, since their little welcoming party is officially over. This ending is definitely not what Aster wanted, since he was totally down to keep throwing hands. But the director apologizes and asks him to chill out for now. What really grinds Aster's gears is seeing his sister side with the enemy. Aster calls out to Ulfen, but she just throws him the absolute coldest side-eye before walking off like he is a total pest. No lie, it really hurts us to see her getting treated like a total stranger. In the next scene, the crew talks about the massive reality check they got from the Elmheims, where poor Nolan basically got the Todoroki treatment. Even some of their own allies were dragged away by the upperclassmen due to those masks, leaving their next move up in the air. First off, Aster is pretty mad that the director, Earl Mays, let things get this completely out of hand. His assistant yells at our boy for showing zero respect to the very man who literally just saved him from a beating. But this relaxed director does not mind a little attitude, reminding Aster that the two of them actually go way back. Back when our boy was first summoned to the main family mansion, this director was the only one who had his back. It is still super unclear if this guy is an ally or an enemy, or what he is actually planning. But Smite is totally confused, wondering how the Elmheims can run the entire academy if this guy is supposed to be in charge. To clear things up, Earl Mays explains that he is also a member of that very same noble family. He avoids getting mixed up in family drama unless he absolutely has to, but Aster is furious that he is doing nothing to stop Julius from torturing kids with those awful masks. But the truth is, this has always been how things work at this academy from day one. Everything is run on raw skill, meaning any brutal method used to force weaker students to grow is totally allowed. Like the students under Julius's control, actually, do see their power levels skyrocket in the long run. Their grades are amazing, so even the headmaster is totally cool with it. This proves to our boy that he is completely on his own, with zero help coming from any of the administrators. Earl Mays knows the kid is being reckless and probably wants to raid the enemy headquarters right away, but there is one massive catch with that plan. He warns him that every single step he takes is being watched closely by the main family leaders. And trust me, they are just waiting for him to make one tiny slip-up so they can kick him out for good. All right, you and I are about to watch our boy do the right thing to save his crew, and not even for justice. See, that cursed iron shackle literally rots your soul and turns you into a total slave. It steals your voice, crushes your self-respect, and kills any hope of fighting back until you are just a puppet. It is a nightmare he would not wish on his worst enemy. Earl Mays is completely shocked that our boy knows this pain so well, but Aster just drops hints that he has seen some super dark stuff before. He refuses to let his friends end up like brainless puppets, leaving the director wondering what crazy stunt he is pulling next. The youngest son of the Vic family has zero plans of getting expelled today. He prefers peaceful endings, completely throwing Earl Mays off because it sounds like a brilliant plan. Holding up that heavy shackle, our boy tells the director that he has his own legendary way of fighting. 3 days pass in a flash, with Smite and the gang training like absolute beasts in hardcore combat. Nolan is miraculously healed up with absolutely zero scars, and he is already skipping rest to jump straight back into their intense daily training schedule. He calls that nightmare a tiny scratch, while poor Smite is out here literally dying. But the one they should actually be stressing over is the man himself, Aster. Watch closely because this is wild. 3 days ago, our boy straight up went to find Julius to make a trade. Even after their big showdown, those petty siblings had no intention of letting him off the hook. But hearing him ask for a deal, hilarious. Chugging down his wine, the older brother just laughs in his face. Ignoring the disrespect, Aster gets straight to the point, demanding the freedom of his sister and his crew. His only term is that they lock that cursed collar on him instead, taking him as their prisoner. Ulfen is completely horrified, thinking he has lost his mind, but Aster argues that with a rebellion brewing, capturing the leader is their best move. It is a killer offer, but Lillian is weirded out that he wants to be a slave, wondering if he is secretly a masochist. Julius knew that Aster was a major pain in the butt. The higher-ups wanted him broken anyway, but he is still shocked that our boy is just surrendering himself on a silver platter. Aster promises there are no tricks, especially since the mask is locked with a heavy magic seal. Meaning only they hold the key. You and I both know he is baiting him, especially when he taunts Julius about being too scared to brainwash him. That slick insult makes Julius snap, melting the glass bottle in his hand before accepting the bet with one savage twist. He demands Aster wear that shackle for 10 straight days, without a single drop of water or crumb of food. If he survives, everyone goes free. It is such an insane gamble that even Ulfen begs him to walk away. It is basically a death sentence, but Aster accepts the deal, fully aware that the collar will rot his soul. The family has used this torture device for years, but he cannot let someone like Ulfen suffer that nightmare. She is the most fragile member of their crew, yet she has the strongest spirit, though even she cannot resist that cursed curse. Aster promises his sister he will break these chains, as Lillian happily charges up the collar with her dark magic. And our boy absolutely loves the pain. The brutal instructor yells at them for slacking off during the training drills, making even poor Gry wonder why he is getting punished along with the rest of these losers. Smite complains about the ruthless teachers who do not give them any slack just because they are wearing masks. But Nolan is right there to laugh at his pain, calling it sweet karma for his past mistakes. The crazy part is that after several days, our boy Aster is still running around with endless energy, making everyone suspect he is some kind of stamina monster. Nobody survives days without food or water, and a whole week of this would normally completely destroy a man. Yet Aster is still taking back-to-back duels, though Nolan suspects his buddy has secretly hit his absolute limit. But a legendary rumor comes to mind, dating back to before our boy was taken in by the Vic family. Back then, the baby literally crawled for miles all by himself to survive, even crossing a mountain buried in deep snow, showing he was a complete beast right from the day he was born. But trust me on this, you and I are about to see if he can keep this whole crazy act up. Meanwhile, Lillian keeps her own pet collection down in the dungeon, feeding them just enough to keep them breathing. Alright, you and I are jumping right into this mess, where she unlocks their masks and serves them trash cheese. That is literally all they get for putting on a show. Even Jin thinks it is way too generous for these guys. But the brother gets completely denied, because his own sister ends up stomping that cheese right in front of him. Knowing he did not even want it, she warns the others not to end up like the poor kid in the corner. Aster has got it way worse than anyone else, since he cannot eat or drink a single thing. Julius is absolutely loving this misery, even telling Ulfen to go over there and root for her big bro. But looking like hot garbage herself, she cannot even look him in the eye. Honestly, she is in a super tight spot and has absolutely no clue how to help him out. What is really ticking Julius off, though, is how this dude is a straight-up robot who just will not quit. The kid is not even fighting back, and yet he is still doing fine, making everyone wonder if he can actually tank this for another 10 whole days. Still, the blonde jerk is hyped to see how long Aster can act tough, and he cannot wait to crush that look in his eyes. Meanwhile, watch closely because our boy is just sitting there, ready to throw hands the second he breaks this mask, especially since mana can turn any blade razor sharp, which boosts the weapon's power, while running that same energy through your body gives you an armored, supercharged state. Basically, mana is super versatile and can be shaped however you want. Like pumping it into your legs makes you run faster than a horse, or you can sharpen your senses to sniff out enemies. Best of all, a massive burst of it acts as an ultimate trump card to flip the entire fight, which is exactly how Aster is riding the wind right into the sky. Talk about a counterattack as he drops down with a massive slam, completely knocking the wind out of both of them. For the 4th grade class, everyone is supposed to completely master specialized mana control. Using actual swords during this training is totally off limits. But if you have got a crest, dropping monsters is a breeze without a weapon, just like this jerk examiner blasting a bird with a finger beam. Meanwhile, Aster is showing everyone that even without a sword, 7 entire days have flown by since he started this heavy-duty training grind. And after a couple days of pure hell, he has actually gotten a solid grip on manipulating mana during a real fight. Only 3 days left until the deadline, and if he can survive that long, his sister and his friends go free. You and I both know that sitting around doing nothing won't help his case. The crazy part about Julius is he did not even use a sword, yet he was absurdly strong. That jerk was not even showing off his real power back then. Aster is up against a 1st grade elite fighter, which is exactly why he cannot just sit around in this dump. Even though he is totally running on empty, he has got to find some kind of edge to grab the win. But his body finally hits its absolute limit, and he faceplants straight onto the dirt. Head spinning and totally drained, he looks up as a shadow towers over him, asking if he has finally hit his wall. Nolan feels his forehead and realizes Aster is burning up, proving that confidence can only carry you so far. See, Earl May was worried Aster would die on this gig, which is why he ordered Nolan to keep a close eye on him if things went south. Trying to do the right thing, Nolan wants to grab his sword and smash this dumb restraint right now. But our boy grabs his arm, stopping him from moving because he refuses to break under pressure. Yeah, he is basically knocking on death's door, but his painful, fierce look is screaming for Nolan not to mess this up. He has got to save his sister, and even though Nolan cannot hear the words, he gets the message. But the other jerks around them are absolutely not going to play fair. Lillian rallies her crew to roast her brother, who is literally on the verge of collapsing. She makes fun of him for looking like a zombie who deserves to get put down for walking around like that. Nolan snaps back, asking what her deal is. Messing with the 4th grade training when she is only a 2nd grade student. But get this, she is not even planning to fight him. She just brought her squad along for a casual class visit, and the teacher did not even care, jumping up onto a tree branch to get a better look. Lillian is hyped to see Aster finally drop to his knees. Begging for mercy when he finally snaps, she is just here to watch the chaos, so she orders her goons to slaughter them however they want. Their plan is simple. They want to end his life before Aster even reaches the final deadline date. He is shocked by how brazen they are, but you and I are about to see if they survive this sneak attack. Alright, you and I are about to watch these badass knights get completely nerfed by having to fight with bare fists. Aster actually has a secret trump card that could easily save the day here, but his brain is totally lagging on him. Lillian knows exactly how weak these sword fighters get when they lose their trusty weapons. She is straight up vibing, watching Aster gas himself out and look like a total clown by the second. While Nolan is holding his own, Aster is completely dazed, not even seeing the dude charging him from behind. Watch closely here, this giant tackles him head first, smashing him into a tree so hard blood sprays out of his mask. No lie, our boy is getting his absolute lunch money taken right now, and it is rough. Nolan thinks bro might be dead, but Lillian wants to keep him alive as her personal pet. Honestly, she just wants to beat him within an inch of his life. But right before his power fades, the knocked-out Aster snaps back to life, launching insane wind blades that shred his attacker to pieces. And just like that, we see Lillian's smug confidence completely vanish.